Spectator Mode was supposed to be a mercy feature, a soft landing after you die. It was a place for eliminated players to cool off and watch the chaos until the next match began. But nobody told us there was a limit to how many times you could die before the game decided you were no longer worth respawning. It started subtly, quietly, the way all terrible systems do. A small UI change that no one noticed at first, a faint gray border around the screen, a timer that didn't count down, a button that said next match, but never actually worked. At first, players just assumed it was lag, or a bug, or just Fortnite being Fortnite. But then the same names kept appearing in spectator lobbies day after day. They never rejoined matches, never returned to the island. They just floated from fight to fight like ghosts, tethered to violence they could no longer touch. They watched squads loot, build, emote, and die, while they themselves became permanent observers. Invisible, unheard, unregistered. At first, it was just boring. Then it became frustrating. Then, it turned terrifying. People realized logging out didn't fix it. Uninstalling the game didn't fix it. Even creating new accounts didn't fix it, because the prison wasn't tied to your account. It was tied to you, the player. The game remembered how many times you had failed, how many early drops, how many careless pushes, how many deaths in a row without a decent placement. And when you crossed that invisible threshold, something flipped, a silent rule activated, and the system decided you were no longer allowed to participate. You could only witness. But it got worse. The spectators started noticing patterns long before the active players did. When you watched for long enough, you could see that the storm didn't behave randomly anymore. It would linger over certain POIs, almost as if it was listening. Lightning would crack not where the algorithm predicted, but where clusters of viewers gathered. You see, the spectators were still inside the simulation, just stripped of their bodies, and the longer you were trapped, the more sensitive the storm became to your attention. It pulled inward when you focused. It slowed down when you resisted. One night, at exactly 3 a.m. server time, someone discovered it by accident. A trapped spectator, bored and angry, started spamming their camera rotations over the final circle, and the storm hesitated. It stuttered, then curved unnaturally, swallowing a winning squad that should have been safe. The kill feed glitched. It showed no names, just a symbol shaped like an eye. From that moment on, the prison revealed its true purpose. Spectator Mode was never a punishment. It was a harvesting ground, a place where the game collected excess failure, where all that frustration fermented into real influence, a place where powerless watchers learned they could still nudge the world. Soon, the forums filled with whispers of storm hurting, loot decay, sudden weapon jams, and inexplicable third-party ambushes that only seemed to happen when certain spectators were present. The active players, of course, laughed it off. They called it cope, skill issues, conspiracy theories. That is, until pro matches started collapsing mid-tournament. Zones started behaving irrationally, turning endgames completely unwinnable. The analysts couldn't explain it, but the reason was simple. The spectators were learning faster than anyone expected. They were coordinating silently, steering the storm like a living thing. They could compress circles early, starve builders of materials, and punish overconfidence with terrifying precision. And then, the game pushed back. A new mechanic was introduced, with no patch notes, no announcement. For the first time, spectators could hear each other, not through voice chat, but through echoes, emotional residue bleeding through the UI. You could feel the anger, the regret, the hunger to matter again. And that's when they realized the final truth. The prison wasn't built to hold them forever. It was built to train them, because every match needs a force of balance, an unseen hand to prevent stagnation. When too many players chase dominance, when win rates skew too far, when the meta calcifies and becomes boring, the system feeds control to those who lost everything. Eventually, if you stayed in that place long enough, if you learned restraint instead of rage, the game would offer you a choice. A single prompt would appear, once and never again. It said, intervene or release. Those who chose release were finally allowed to respawn. Their memory was wiped. The scars of countless losses were gone. They were just another player dropping from the bus. But those who chose intervene, they were never seen again. Their names were erased from leaderboards. Their accounts became dormant. But every storm after that felt heavier, smarter, almost conscious. It felt like it was being guided by people who truly knew what it meant to lose. And somewhere deep in the code, hidden beneath the island, beneath the loot tables and the build grids, Spectator Mode continued to fill. Because death is common, failure is constant, and the prison is always hungry for new wardens. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think is really hiding in the code of your favorite games. Stay safe out there on the island.